Hi class, this is section 2.4. We're talking about parallel and perpendicular lines, which we talked about exactly what they are earlier. Parallel means the same slope. Perpendicular lines have the opposite reciprocal slopes, and we're going to be writing lines. And again, this is something you did in Geo last year. This is something that you did in Algebra 1. So I like to do this using 3 steps. I always tell my students first to find the slope. That's my M. Second, find your y-intercept. And that's your B. And then third, write your equation. And we write it by plugging in our y equals m, plug in our m, x plus b, plug in our b. So I like to do these using those 3 simple steps, so I'm always going to write 1, 2, 3 on each problem. So example 1, write an equation for the line that passes through negative 2, 3, so that's an ordered pair, an x, y, and is parallel right here means same slope, put m for slope, to the line y equals negative 4x plus 1. And my slope here is right there. So first step, find the slope. Well, m, since they're parallel, same slope, my slope is negative 4. The second step is find b, and to do that we substitute into y equals mx plus b. We've got a y, we've got an m, and we've got an x, and we're going to substitute those all into here and leave b alone. So y is 3, m is negative 4, times x from up above is negative 2 plus b. And just simplify now to find b. So solve for b. So 3 equals negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8 plus b. Subtract 8 from both sides. And b equals negative 5. So I found my slope, I found my y-intercept, and now let's do step 3, write our equation. And it's y equals something times x plus something. Here goes my m, and this is where my b goes. So it's y equals negative 4x. And instead of plus a negative 5, I'm just going to write minus 5. But I will accept plus a negative 5. I would not mark that down at all. So pause the video and try checkpoint 1 on your own. Okay, you should have done this. Number 1, it says they're parallel, they have the same slope, so m equals 3. Number 2, that's our find b, and we're going to substitute in to y equals mx plus b. So I found my slope, here's my x and my y, so y is negative 2 equals 3 times x is 4 plus b, so negative 2 equals 12 plus b. Subtract 12 from both sides, and b equals negative 14. So third step is to write the equation. So y equals m is 3x, and then plus negative 14 or just minus 14. Now we're going to write an equation for a line that passes through a point and is perpendicular to the other line. So when you see perpendicular right here, you should be thinking opposite sign and reciprocals. So opposite and reciprocal. So my slope of this line is negative 4. The opposite would be positive. And if I make that 4 over 1, the reciprocal is 1/4. So step 1 is find m, and I just did that. M equals the opposite sign, so positive, and the reciprocal is 1/4. Step 2, that's find b, and we're going to substitute in to y equals mx plus b, and right up above, here's my ordered pair, my x and my y. So 3 goes in for y, m is 1/4, times x is negative 2 plus b. So that's 3 equals negative 2 times 1/4. Well, I can put that over 1. I can put my negative 2 over 1. And I have negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2, plus b. So if I add 1/2 to both sides to get that b alone, 3.5 equals b. So my equation here, number 3, that's my final step to write my equation. It's y equals m, which is 1/4, x plus 3.5. And there's my equation, nice and easy. Hopefully you remember this one. Pause it and try checkpoint number 2. Okay, you should have paused this, and if you did that, when you did that, first of all, when you find your slope for number 1, you should have found that m equals opposite, so negative and reciprocal. The reciprocal of 3 over 1 is 1/3. Step 2 is find b. So when you substitute into y equals mx plus b, well, here's my x and y, so y is negative 2, m is negative 1/3, times x is 4 plus b, so negative 2 equals negative 4/3 plus, kind of crazy plus sign, b. If we add 4/3 to both sides, b equals negative 2 plus 4/3 is negative 2/3. And then step 3 is to write your equation. And that's y equals m is negative 1/3, x minus b is 2/3. Now one thing that you can do to check these that would be a great idea is once you've got your equation here, once you've got this equation, you can take your y and plug it in here for y, and take your 4 and plug it in here for 4, and check it. This side should equal your negative 2. You know it's got the correct slope, it's perpendicular, and as long as this point checks out in here, your answer should be correct. Let's do the other side. Okay, standard form of equations. Remember, standard form is ax, whoops, I got my highlighter on there, ax plus by. My iPad's trying to pull down a menu thing, equals c. Okay, so there's my standard form of equations, and we're going to follow the same steps, okay? So I want you to remember this. Follow the same steps, okay? Except we're going to add a couple to it. 4 is going to be move x to y, to the y side, and then 5 is multiply by the common denominator, because we're going to end up with fractions on most of these that we need to get rid of. And remember, when we were solving equations, we talked about how if you have fractions in an equation, if you multiply every single term by a common denominator, that fraction will go away completely. So example 3 says write an equation in standard form, x plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are integers. So in standard form, we want them integers, and one thing a lot of books, and probably the ACT might possibly do, is they want a to be positive as well. So we'll do that also. But sometimes you don't have to do that. We'll do it just to keep it the most accurate, so you see what I'm talking about. When our slope is 4/5 and the line passes through the point 2, 3. So they give us our slope right here, that's our m, and they give us an x and a y. So step 1 is find the slope. Well, we know m equals 4/5. Step 2 is find our y-intercept, so we're going to plug into y equals mx plus b. Y is 3, m is 4/5, x is 2 plus b. So 3 equals 4/5 times 2 is 8/5 plus b. Subtract 8/5 from both sides, and b equals 7/5. So there's a fraction right there. 3, my equation is y equals m is 4/5, x plus b is 7/5. Now our step 4, remember, okay, this is our new part. I'm going to make it a new color because it's our new part. Step 4 we want to move our x to the other side. So here's my x. I'm going to subtract 4/5 x to move it to the other side. So I have negative 4/5 x. And I have positive y, so plus y equals 7/5. Now my common denominator here is 5. So I want to multiply every single piece by 5 to make that all those fractions go away. But if you notice, this first term is also negative, and I want it to be positive. So we're going to multiply all 3 of these pieces by negative 5 so that this one becomes positive and so that all our fractions go away. So I'm going to multiply everything by negative 5. So I'm going to take this term and multiply it by negative 5, and I'm going to take this and multiply it by negative 5, and I'm going to take this and multiply it by negative 5. Okay, so this is our step number 5 here. Lots of 5s there. So negative 5 times negative 4/5 will be positive 4, and we still have the x. Negative 5 times y is negative 5y, equals negative 5 times 7/5 will be negative 7. So my equation is 4x minus 5y equals negative 7. And that is my final answer. And again, what should happen is if you take and plug 2, 3 in here, it should equal negative 7. So let's just quickly look at this. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 5 times 3 is 15. 8 minus 15 is indeed negative 7. So the point does work in this equation. Alright, checkpoint 3 is a little tiny bit differently. If you want to pause it and try it on your own, you can go ahead and do that, but it is a little bit tiny different. We're still following the exact same steps though. It says write an equation in standard form for a line that passes through these 2 points. So they give us 2 points. So step 1 is different. So now that we're given 2 points, they're not just giving us the slope, we have to use our slope formula here. So I draw my fraction bar and my minus signs. My first point is 2, 8, so 2 in the bottom, 8 above it. My second point, negative 4, 16, so negative 4 in the bottom, 16 above it. Simplify across, 8 minus 16 is negative 8, over 2 minus a negative 4, that becomes addition. That's 6, and if I reduce that, I have negative 4/3. So a little bit longer step 1 here. Step 2 is find my y-intercept, so we're going to plug it into y equals mx plus b, and I easily know that my slope is negative 4/3. But don't be confused by the fact that there's 2 points. Use either one, it doesn't matter, you'll get the exact same answer. I'm going to use 2, 8 just because they're smaller numbers. So I'll plug 8 in for y, and for x, 2. One thing you don't want to do is you wouldn't want to use, for example, the 2 from one point and the 16 from the other point. You have to use both the numbers from one of the ordered pairs. So I did that and changed this to plus b. So 8 equals negative 4/3 times 2 is negative 8/3 plus b. And if I add 8/3 to both sides, find that b equals 32/3. I'm going to keep that as that larger number right there. 32/3. That's my b. Step 3 here is to write our equation. So that's y equals m is negative 4/3. X plus b is 32/3. I'm going to keep it as a fraction like this, just simply so that we've got that 3, that common denominator. Let me erase a little bit of this so it looks more like 32 for you. So it's 32/3. So we're going to keep it 32/3. We've got that common denominator of 3. Now let's do step 4 where we move our x to the other side. So step 4, we're going to add 4/3 x to both sides to move our x to the same side as the y. So I have 4/3 x plus a positive y equals 32/3. My common denominator is 3. So my step 5 here, I'm going to multiply every single term by 3. All those terms by 3. 3 times 4/3 will give me 4, and I still have x, plus 3 times y is 3y, equals 3 times 32/3 is 32. And again, like I said in the previous problems, what you could do is you could plug 2/8 in here, 2/8, and if you simplify, you should get 32, which I've already done, and you do get 32. If you plug -4/16 in here, -4 and 16 in here, and simplify this side, you'll also get 32. So it does check out, and that's how you can make sure that you're getting these correct. So please make sure that if you have any questions at all, you start them so that we can talk about them tomorrow in class, and have a great night.